Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another episode of the Just Seen podcast. This is an impromptu pop-up, and this is one I think that really needs to be discussed and talked about. I was going to save it for my entrepreneur series, and, I decided not to. But it fits along the theme of the Entrepreneurials series. So technically, you could call this Entrepreneurial 6 or 7. I don't remember which number I'm on. I think I'm on 7 or 6. Either way, you can count this as a Entrepreneurials episode, but it is still impromptu pop-up because it's released randomly. So imposter syndrome is something that I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs face. More than that, I've seen a lot of my people face imposter syndrome from plethoras of different levels of life. You know what I'm saying? And I think it has an exception of childhood. I faced it, face it from time to time still. You know what I mean? And I have experiences in which, were heavy as far as the imposter syndrome. But I wanted to talk about it because it's been something that I've noticed that it's just had a reoccurring theme. It just keeps popping up. And so at this particular moment, it's the freshest in my head, and, what I have to, I guess, discuss about it has to come out now, and I can't, keep it in or even think about it. So just gotta let it flow, But like when it comes to imposter syndrome, what it is a mentality or a moment when you feel you're not supposed to be somewhere. You feel you're not supposed to be where you're destined to go or where you currently are. And it can put you in a regressive state. It can put you in a state in which you kind of fuck shit up. It's definitely an impetus for self-sabotage. It's definitely a reality that fucks us up a lot. You feel what I'm saying? Whether that be in relationships, whether that be in, self-development, entrepreneurship, anything really. It kind of goes deep into the aspects of yourself. And it can put a fear in you that stifles you and keeps you from growing and keeps you from moving forward in life, And I've noticed that it's like I said, it's heavy in our community. For several reasons, it goes back to so many different cultural things that happen, But when imposter syndrome kicks in, it scares you, it startles you, it keeps you it freezes you, it petrifies you, it makes you not even want to do all of that you have decided. Like, it can erase years of work that you put in. It could erase so many different things in the moment because you feel like you may not deserve something, or you feel like you should not be in a position that you're in. But you're in the position you're in because you're supposed to be. You feel what I'm saying? I always understand that. Like, imposter syndrome, I'm learning to see it as a checkpoint. You feel me? To say, yo, are you really ready for what you say you're ready for? If you succumb to it, if it can beat you, you're not mentally ready yet. You may be physically ready, you may be prepared, you may have all of the skills and the resources you need, but you're not mentally ready if it can make you second guess whether you should be somewhere or not. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like a checkpoint. When you face imposter syndrome, embrace that plateau and overcome that so you can go to the next phase. Because if you don't get over the imposter syndrome and you still try to go through the next phase, you're liable to sabotage a lot of your own shit. You feel what I'm saying? And you work too hard to sabotage your shit. So that's not what we want to have happen to us. You know what I'm saying? So we need to really understand imposter syndrome in detail and learn when it's affecting us. Learn how we individually can overcome it, because we got to understand what triggers it. You feel what I'm saying? And then from there, we can continue to, you're still going to face it, but you can learn to overcome it. It's a syndrome. So that means it's going to affect you, but it is going to possibly resurface, but you have to now acknowledge it and have the power to overcome it. But Before we dive heavy into that, as always, be sure to follow me on Instagram at _scene_. Be sure to hit my website up at IamJustScene.com to get all things that are just seen. My books, my courses, the podcast, and if you would like to book a session with Chatting with Scene, where we talk about any and everything, no matter what it is, you can visit the website to see what the packages are and the pricing and everything like that. And in each individual link, of course, you can follow their respective social media connection that is associated with that page. To all of the people who sponsor, tip, and donate for the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. As always, anyone who would like to sponsor, tip, or donate, you can do so by clicking the description of your podcast. It is not in the link of this episode, but in the actual podcast itself. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and everything, and leave a review on your respective platform, and continue to support the podcast and keep the podcast moving, so we can maintain the momentum and keep giving y'all the content that y'all are actually looking for. So without further ado, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into impromptu pop-ups. I don't know which number, so impromptu pop-ups, imposter syndrome. Oh yeah, and don't forget to visit IamJustScene.com. There you can get all things Just Scene. You want to add the Soul series to your library? Visit IamJustScene.com. You want to learn how to master the market for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustScene.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustScene.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustScene.com. You ever want to just chat with Scene about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustScene.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustScene.com. So just take a quick peek into my world and see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it. You will never see it unless you visit IamJustScene.com. All right, welcome back. And let's dive straight into imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a motherfucker. This shit is a motherfucker. It will, as I said, it will petrify you, and it can literally keep you from your goals. It can keep you from pushing and propelling to the next level of life and succeeding. You feel what I'm saying? I face imposter syndrome from time to time. Even recently just came out of my own version of imposter syndrome recently, and it was in, sitting to meditate to actually see what triggered it and figuring out when the fuck that shit happened to know how I had to overcome it. And I'll discuss my moment. But I want to just, dive into, like what it is, like, where did it come from? When did we first develop this mentality and this ideology of imposter syndrome? Like, where does it come from? You feel what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of times it comes from childhood. It comes from the different things that, it more than anything, it comes from your self-worth. It comes from the knowledge of yourself. That's one of the biggest things about it. If you don't know who you are, imposter syndrome can beat you. It can beat you. And if you don't know who you are, when it's time to face and find what that trigger is that caused it, it's going to be hard to figure it out. And imposter syndrome can last longer than it's supposed to. Imposter syndrome is a momentary thing. It is supposed to be something that, bam, when it shows up, you should be able to acknowledge it and understand what it is. I see imposter syndrome as, I'm learning that it's a checkpoint. It's a mark to say, are you ready? It's kind of like you questioning yourself to see, are you really ready for that next level? And if you fall to the imposter syndrome, mentally you're not, and if you don't fall to it, you don't even notice it, mentally you are, because you know where you're supposed to show up. You see what I'm saying? But when you get wrapped up in the imposter syndrome, I feel personally, it starts maybe as a child, in schools and things of that nature, because I look at, one of the things that really stuck out to me, like when I was meditating and, trying to uncover more about imposter syndrome, just within myself and why I was feeling those things, I would notice that it would always take me back to my childhood, but it would take me back to experiences with my homies. You feel what I'm saying? I frequently talk about situations where, you know, when as a student, as an elementary school, middle school, high school student, I was in mainly honors classes. You feel what I'm saying? And for me, they were just classes. You feel me? But when I looked at my homies and shit, it was, you know, they would be on some shit like, well, that shit's too hard. It's the honors class. It's advanced. I'm like, yo, bro, I'm in the shit. I'm in the trenches, bro. It's not that difficult. You might get a little bit more assignments and shit, but the beauty of it is they give you a weighted GPA, you know what I'm saying, to make it seem like you're smarter than you are. And so that way you have more leverage to fuck up. But it's really not what that is. You know, and imposter syndrome can, you know, really affect you a lot of times when you're the oddball out, you know, when you're the only one that's in the space, it can affect you then. And I just noticed that I've seen it a lot in education, you know, no matter what phase of education I was in. Like I said, I seen it in elementary school, middle school, high school. I seen it when I was in med school. I seen it in undergrad. I seen so many experiences. It had so many experiences with people who would just assume that they're not supposed to be in a certain space that they're actively in. You feel me? I got stories for days, even my own personal stories, you know. And I personally didn't experience imposter syndrome until I became an entrepreneur. You feel me? As I was in the, I guess, quote unquote, matrix and sticking into, you know, just following a simple template of, you know, going to school, all of these things. I never had imposter syndrome. I didn't have it. I didn't start having it and experiencing it until I became an entrepreneur, because I was in uncharted territory. I was in a whole different world that I actually actively had to be involved in. I had to put myself forward. You know what I'm saying? So it hit differently. But, you know, when I seen homies who would be like, yo, bro, I don't think I can do that. You know, I had homies who had opportunities to start taking honors class. I was like, yo, come on, bro. I don't want to be the only black person in the class, bro. Come with me. You feel me? The higher up I went, the less I saw myself. You dig what I'm saying? You know, I was around black women all the time because black women were more in the honors classes but my brothers, they just wouldn't come in there. I'd be like, yo, why you ain't, come on, bro. Like, fuck. And the higher up I went, it's like, I remember by my junior year, when I started to see the drop off happen, you know, it was definitely my junior year because I was taking pre-calculus and I was the only black male in that class, you know. It was supposed to be a senior class or whatever the case may be, but my math scores were so high that they kept pushing me a year ahead. You feel me? It still really wasn't nothing. Like when I was in the 10th grade, I was in 11th grade math. I think it was algebra 2, but I was in 11th grade math. And it was me and another black male in the class, you know, but he was the actual junior. He was in 11th grade. I was a sophomore. You feel what I'm saying? I was a freshman in geometry. The geometry was supposed to be a sophomore class, but I was a freshman in that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because algebra 1 was bullshit. It was simple, but I still never had that because I never had the imposter syndrome in those moments. But like I said, the higher up I went, the more it kind of, my people started dropping off. I was like, yo, bro, just take this math class, bro. It's not fucking hard. You feel what I'm saying? And I was in there like the shit was so, it was such a simple curriculum that I would sleep in the class. Like, it was funny as shit. I would go to sleep in the class, and then when she give us our assignment, I'd wake up and ask her how to do it. And the teacher would be like, no, you shouldn't have been asleep. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And then I get the answer. And then cause like they gave us the questions, stupid. They gave us the questions and the answers were always in the back of the book. They always gave us the questions that matched the answers. So, you could check your work. I went back, got the answers, went back to the question, then worked it backwards and figured the shit out. And, you know, it was shocking to a lot of the people because I was really the only black male in there. You feel what I'm saying? And I was excelling above everybody else. So I didn't have the imposter syndrome in those moments. But my homies was like, yo, I don't think I can do this. This shit hard, because they were intimidated by the realm they were in, you know? And because I had always been in honors classes, I never seen the people that were in the class with me as smarter than me. I'm like, bitch, we all here. You feel me? We all here. And so I'm going to put in the work and do the same shit. So I would see moments like that. You dig what I'm saying? I would see moments like that. But it was always a matter of, in comparison to Caucasian people. I think that sets the imposter syndrome up for us. early on as kids. Because I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but we have this perceived expectation for Caucasian intelligence, and we think they're so much smarter than us, so much intelligent. Not all of us, but that's something that comes up because it's like, yo, you like I've heard growing up so many times like, yo, you acting white because you smart. I'm like, no, bitch, I'm acting smart because I'm smart. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? But within my homies, I would see the imposter syndrome. You feel me? I would see imposter syndrome early. I'd be like, yo, bro, let's try this. I had one homie, he actually said, okay, I'm going to try honors classes the next year. We in the same class. He didn't come back. He was like, man, this shit hard, bro. It's not, bro. It's the same shit. You're intimidated by your surroundings. Imposter syndrome it forces us to be intimidated by our surroundings, not actually what we're involved in. You feel me? Because we're heavily prepared for it. We're heavily prepared for everything that we enter, that we walk into. But what makes us feel like we're not worthy or we're not valuable for it? You feel me? And that's where the imposter syndrome kicks in. And we have to truly tap into ourselves and know who we are and be comfortable and confident in ourselves to truly overcome it. You know what I'm saying? I seen it again when I was in med school. We was in a lab, and it just so happens that this woman, she had the whitest name possible, one of the whitest names possible, Megan. So it's like, I'm not trying to be stereotypical when I said they was talking about Megan, like it's really her name. But there was a sister in the class with me, and she was killing anatomy. When I say killing it, like all her scores, every grade that she got on her anatomy test and everything was maxed out. But yet, whenever we would be going over the shit, you know, she'd be like, yo, Megan, I'm like, what? I'm like, why are you comparing yourself to her? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I started to see, like, the higher up we went, you know, as Black people in academia, you know, I guess maybe it's the stigma of, you know, you got to work twice as hard to get half as much. Maybe that plays a role into it. Maybe it's just a natural inferiority complex in our comparison to them, but whatever the case may be, I would hear her express this. She'd be like, yeah, because, you know, if Megan didn't understand it, then what you mean if Megan didn't understand it? You figure it out. Like, don't base whether something is comprehensible based off of this motherfucker. Like, it ain't got shit to do with that. But, you know, at the time, I didn't really know what imposter syndrome was, but I was able to identify it. Something was off. I was like, you don't feel like you're supposed, like, you don't feel like you're as smart as that. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like that very next semester, she actually became one of the lead anatomy students who was, you know, leading the module basically as a teacher when, you know, we were in the lab. So I was like, you know this shit. Like, they wouldn't have gave you this position if you didn't know it. But she was still in that mental space of whether or not she was supposed to be there or not. But I would say that she didn't succumb to it. No matter what she expressed about how she felt like this person was, you know, may have been smarter, because both her and the girl that she was on, the Megan girl that she was always talking about, they were both the leads of the anatomy module. You feel what I'm saying? So I was like, y'all are in the same place. Why do you feel like you're not supposed to be there? You feel me? And now I'm understanding as I'm older and I've experienced a lot more that it's imposter syndrome. And then having experienced it myself, you know, as an entrepreneur, it is, you know, I understand what imposter syndrome really is. You feel what I'm saying? And so those things, you know, at the end of the day, if you fall victim to it, you'll sabotage a lot of shit because you feel like, you know, you'll get into a what if state or a what's the point? Not necessarily a what if, but a what's the point kind of mentality. Like, what's the point of me even trying to be good at it or trying to excel at it? Because what's the point? I'm not supposed to be here. You feel what I'm saying? And that's not the case. You put in the work to be there. You're supposed to be there. You know what I mean? I experienced it another time in undergrad. You know, this was one of my classmates. And he was like, you know, I felt like he was one of the smart pupils. I felt like he was like he was in our lab group. You feel me? So he asking us questions and shit. And then it's like, yo, bro. So I'm like, we're doing a little study session or whatnot. And we all linking up talking about what we going over. He's like, man, yo, he said, man, if y'all don't get this, it's going to be hard. I said, nah, bro. Like, What's your perspective on it? Because he was like, man, look, I look at it like that. And he helped us understand. Now he was like, bro, I'm seeing it like, I was like, yo, well, why did you not speak up? He was like, cuz, man, you know, y'all the smart ones. You the smart one too? I said, bro, we in the same class together. You feel what I'm saying? We are, you know, we're in the same class together. We're in the same fucking major. You feel me? We're at the same fucking level, bro. Like, don't get in that space. You know what I'm saying? So that was one of my homies and shit. And I vibe with him and talked to him and, you know, told him to stop thinking like that. I didn't know it was imposter syndrome at the time. So I couldn't say, yo, bro, you got imposter syndrome, bro. Let's work on that shit. It was like, nah, bro, you're equals with us. Like, you feel me? You're in our class. Don't ever think like we're going to undermine your thought process or undermine what you feel based off of the fact that you feel like you may not be as smart. I'm like, yo, bro, you're in our class, man. Like, you're in a study session with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we're not leading it. We don't lead the study session. We just all vibe and see what we need to know. You feel what I'm saying? And he happened to know exactly what the fuck we couldn't get. It was like, yo, what the fuck? You feel me? So we looked at it like that. And it's like, I went to a HBCU, so it's already that stigma too. You feel what I'm saying? It's already that stigma too. A lot of people feel like, you know, HBCUs are last resorts. Well, I didn't even apply to PWIs. I didn't apply to any other schools. You feel me? My mom was trying to get me heavy. She was like, yo, why don't you apply for Duke and NC State and, you know, UNC, like, because I'm from North Carolina and shit. So those are, I guess, quote unquote, the top schools here. Those are the popular ones, like EC. I was like, nah, I'm going to FSU, bro. Fayetteville State. That's the only school I'm applying for. I said, I know I'm going to get in, but that's it. That's where I'm going. I knew that shit. That was the only school I applied for. I got accepted. I didn't apply to nothing else. You feel what I'm saying? So that kind of, but I noticed that like a lot of people had that mentality. Oh, I've even heard this myself. A 4.0 at a P, they said a 4.0 at HBCU is not as good as a 4.0 at PWI. Said the fuck? Where you get your logic from? Where do you get your logic from? The only logic in that is that you feel that white people are superior. You feel that Caucasian people are superior. That's the only logic that you can get out of that. Because it's not the institution, it's the student. It doesn't matter where you go, it's the student and how you apply yourself, how you choose to apply yourself, and the application that you choose to put into the information that you want to retain and obtain. You feel what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with the school. You feel what I'm saying? Because like I've been like in higher academia. When I finally went to my first PWI, I was in it was my master's program. You know, granted, I didn't finish. I became an entrepreneur afterwards. And then look, this is gonna be why I didn't finish. It was bullshit. So I'm going to the school. It's a top school in Philly or whatnot or whatever the case may be. It's like, yeah. So I get in. These motherfuckers are unstructured, don't have shit worked out. Not a damn thing is in place. They are learning along. I'm like, this shit here, bruh. So I'm talking to the director, not the director of the program. Is he the director of the program? I don't know. I ain't been in school, so I forgot the names of these shits. But the motherfucker, department chair, that's what it is. I'm talking to the department chair, and he's like, yeah, we like your scores. You know, we see that you majored in forensic biology. He said, well, you would be a real asset here. We can definitely enhance that. I get there, and it's only a 2-year program. So I'm like, bitch, I'm a science major. I'm a forensic, like, they had me taking basic science techniques all over again, like pipetting. And I said, why the fuck are y'all making me take this? We just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Bitch, when you fucking accepted me into this motherfucker, you seen my transcript. You seen what the fuck I did. I know how to do these skills. Why are you making me test? I was like, all right, that was one of my first red flags. I don't fuck with this shit, right? So then I get into class with the professor who's a forensic pathologist. And this was the moment I know. Like in med school, right? When I was in med school, because after you know, my grandmother was killed and shit, I took a step back from med school, and I didn't want to stop because I knew that I was, you know, I said, I can't go back. I'm not in the right mental space. So I said, at least let me go to a master's program. It's easier. You feel me? But when I get there, so the professor's a forensic pathologist. And so I was already on the fence with med school because I seen the backside, and I started to say, you know what, from the pharmacology, from all the shit that it was telling us to do, I started to see, bro, I don't think I want to do this anymore. But this is the actual thing that extinguished the flame. You feel me? So it's a forensic pathologist I meet. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to be a forensic pathologist, whatever the case may be, and da-da-da-da. So when I say this motherfucker was like, just so out of whack. So out of whack. Like when we're going over, like, I'm like, yo, bro, I think our first, the course that I'm referring to, I think it was like DNA. It's supposed to be like DNA modeling or something like that. I'm excited to take some shit like this because I'm like, yo, bro, I was running a genetic analyzer already. I've already done PCR. I already know how to match alleles and shit. Like, I've seen the whole setup already. So that's what I'm thinking we're going to do. No, this motherfucker takes us back to the history of forensic science. Bitch, that was my sophomore fucking year in college. So I'm tight. I'm upset. Or whatever the case may be. So I eventually just said, fuck it. I gotta leave this shit alone. But as I'm looking at the people, my counterparts in the class, they were like, you know, they stayed in it. And it was like 3 other black people in the class, but they always had this, how are you speaking? Like, for example, the department chair, he was also one of our professors, and his name was Bill. You know, he told us his name is Bill, but they would call him Mr. Or Mr. and then his last name or whatever. Because he wasn't even a doctor. He was just a retired police chief or some shit like that. I was like, where the fuck did y'all pull these motherfuckers from? You feel what I'm saying? The fuck y'all pull these? I said, this is the ghetto shit ever. The fuck y'all pull these? At least when I was at a HBCU, the shit was structured and organized. And so that's the point that I'm making with this shit. Like, everybody keeps saying the PWIs. I'm like, how? Because when I went to a PWI, the shit was like, it was bullshit. It was utter bullshit. You feel me? It looks good. It looks good on paper. Oh, you graduated from Drexel University. I don't give a fuck about that shit no more because the program was trash. It was ass. They didn't know shit. You feel me? They were trying to get me to repeat another program. The only course that was different from anything that I ever took was forensic psychology. And even that was still an easy class. I was like, man, I'm wasting my money. And they kept telling me, well, you just get the easy A. I don't want the fucking easy A, bitch. I gotta pay for this shit. Fuck y'all. You feel me? So eventually that's what turned me off from education and all of that shit, and I quit. Then I became an entrepreneur. But anyway, the point that I was making with that was that the imposter syndrome coming in, you know, from the impetus of us setting that standard that we don't feel like we're on par with certain people. You feel what I'm saying? And that's something as far as like, and that's how I'm saying, that's why I'm connecting the dots to where the imposter syndrome is connected to your mentality, because the mentality, the mindset is about, you know, thinking. It's about learning and shit like that. It's the mind. But I would notice that everybody that was, you know, making the comparison to the Caucasian people was like, yo, we're not as, like, it's basically you're saying you're not as smart as them. To say that a degree from a PWI is better than a degree at a HBCU is to say that, okay, they must be smarter. No, they're not. They're not. You feel me? They're not. They can be just as smart, and you can be just as smart, and you can be smarter, but don't automatically have that mentality. And I think that starts the tone from a child to where that imposter syndrome can be something that's heavy, you know? And like I said, I never really succumbed to the imposter syndrome because I was always in like honors classes since a kid. Like when I lived in California, they put me in what was called the GATE class or whatnot. It was like the GATE program. It was basically academically gifted. You know, when I moved to North Carolina, still academically gifted. And I'm like killing them. And it's like, I remember the white kids used to cheat off my paper. I remember when I was in the 4th grade, this kid named Ethan, you feel me? He's cheating off my paper. We sat side by side. He's cheating on my paper like a motherfucker. You feel me? We turned our papers in. The only thing that saved me, because this teacher hated me. When I say she hated me, this was my first time experiencing racism face on. Like I knew about the racism that, you know, my mama, she put me on game, but this is when the first time it was directed to me. It was grown ass women, grown teachers, just hateful. You feel me? They talked to me like so bad. I'm looking at the other black kids in the class like, y'all let this ride? Hey, look, when I was a kid, my nickname was Ray Ray for a reason. You feel me? You're not gonna talk to me stupid. Hell no. I don't give a fuck. You feel what I'm saying? So they will always speak to me so negatively. So this teacher, I knew she didn't like me. The only thing that saved me was that when I turned in my paper and he turned in his paper, I showed my work. She was like, you guys have the same answers. I said, oh shit. Fuck, here we go. Because I already know how it's gonna go. She looked at me and she said, so Why do you guys have to? I was like, I don't know. I said, I said, are they all right? She was like, yeah, they're right. So I said, well, what's the problem? She said, well, you showed your work and he didn't. I said, oh, yes. Yes, that's the only thing that fucking saved me on that one. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm saying that to say that imposter syndrome in that moment, it never affected me the way it affected my homies. My other classmates never felt like they were smart enough. They never felt like that. And it's like they felt like, they couldn't put in that work. And they looked at me like, oh yeah, you're the, but I wasn't one of those smart people who was still detached from the homies. You feel me? So they didn't classify me as the nerd. They didn't classify me as the geek and shit. They was like, damn, you just the anomaly. Nah, bro, there's no anomaly to this shit. You feel me? But I'm reiterating the fact that I feel like that imposter syndrome sits there, but it's an illusion. Because no matter where I was always in the honors classes and I was with the Caucasian people. And then they was always cheating on my paper. They were always cheating on my paper. They were always saying, like, I don't get it. Just how do you understand this so well? You feel me? Hell, even when I was at med school and I was able to find the nerves, like when we would do the dissections and we was cutting, it was like, how do you know that that's the nerve? Cause bitch, this is what it say. You looking for a color because you trying to study it out of a book. All the nerves look the same. You feel me? If you know where it's supposed to be, relatively where it is, even if you pull the nerve, you'll see which muscle it innervates. You can literally see which muscle it causes to move. So you know where it comes from if you know what the shit is. So I was able to identify that and find that. And I was like, what? You feel me? So I never had that. You feel me? I never had that. And I think that the imposter syndrome comes from a subtle inferiority complex. You feel me? I was never taught an inferiority complex. I was taught that I was great all my life. And our family, they teach us, a lot of people teach us that are great, but it's like, do we really internalize it? Because when you get in that situation and it's time for that to shine, imposter syndrome is going to kick in. And it kicks in on the strength that it's either going to show you, if the mentality is right, it's going to either stifle you or it's going to propel you forward to let you know, okay, bro, this is next level shit. Are you ready? I feel like that's what imposter syndrome is. It's a template to say, are you ready? You feel me? And if you succumb to it, like I said, if you succumb to it, you're not ready for it. But if you say, fuck it, if it doesn't even phase you, you are ready for that next level. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what we need to bank on a lot more. And that's what we need to hold on to, And so when it comes to that mentality, I'm like, how do we break it? How do we break it? And it's because I feel like it starts off so young, to educate, like you're in school for 12 years. Imagine having this for 12 whole years. Even if you just graduate, you just can't keep and it makes me wonder, is that why some people drop out of school? Imposter syndrome, like I'm not smart enough to be here. I'm not smart enough for this, because it's like, then you have the other factors that play into it. Like, for example, you're not learning in the way that you naturally learn. So that can fuck with your that can make imposter syndrome work, because you might feel like you're slow. Like Einstein said, if you gauge a fish's genius, if you gauge a fish's genius by its ability to climb a tree, it's not going to be a genius, because fish don't climb trees. You feel me? Fish don't climb trees. So being put in a situation where you aren't naturally able to adapt to it, and you're not operating from your norm, it can seem like you're not supposed to be there. You dig what I'm saying? It can really seem like you're not supposed to be there. And is that the case? No. But that is imposter syndrome. That is imposter syndrome. So like I was saying, I didn't really experience imposter syndrome until I became an entrepreneur, because I'm in a whole different world, a world that I had never experienced before. Like, I'm used to working in jobs and this is one thing that I've said this to people, and I've learned to start pulling back, because as I learn more about myself and I learn more about the world, I learned that I need to stop saying certain things to certain people, because I can be in putting the imposter syndrome on them. You dig what I'm saying? And the reason why I say that is because whenever I was working, no matter what level or what position I was in life, I was more so always like one of the people who I was, quote unquote, a top performer. Most cases. You dig what I'm saying? I was a top performer. So that imposter syndrome in that regard is not there. But then it's like, in the entrepreneurial world, that's everybody. You know, that's everybody. Like, I used to be that person, like, I can move up quick in a job. I can always get promoted to the management. I can always do that and be the team lead. I was always able to be that position, right? And it's one thing where, and it's like that because, you know, in a structured environment, it's just basically following the rules. This is the template that you want me to follow? Cool, I do it. In the entrepreneurial world, is different, you know? And an example that I like to liken it to is, you know, I experienced this for the first time with one of my homies, my little cousin actually, when he first came to college. When I say he was a star athlete, like one of my professors, well, my freshman seminar professor, he put me onto this reality and showed me. And I think this was kind of setting the tone for imposter syndrome can be real. It can really affect you if you're not crazy, if you're not, you know, in tune with it. Because when he put the perspective into it, I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yo, can you talk to the coach, the basketball coach from my little cousin or whatnot? Cause you know, he was supposed to be on the team or whatnot, but they switched coaches. Like the coach that recruited him got fired. So they brought another coach in. So he's like, so there's a whole team that had been recruited under this coach and he's gone. But the other coach that had got hired, he had brought new people in. He had a whole different team. He had his own team. So he was like, they're not playing. So I'm like, yo, talk to him. I was like, yo, my cousin was a beast, man. He was, you know, he was a beast though. He started motherfucking in the newspapers, you know what I'm saying, dropping crazy points, you know what I mean, doing it. So he said, I get that. He said, I know that's your cousin. He said, but you got to think about this. He said, this is college ball now. He said, he said, by college ball, you got to think. He said, think about it from an academic standpoint. What gets you into college? Being the top student, right? I was like, yeah. So he said, what does that mean? You perform. He said, all of these people are now performing at that level. So it's not like, what makes you stand out? So he said, you got to think about, in regards to your cousin, like how many people is he going up against who also were dropping those numbers in school, who were also starting, who were also doing the same thing? I said, damn, I didn't even think about it. And then when I look at like my little cousin, he didn't make the team. It got to him. It got to him because I guess it was another side of the imposter syndrome. Like, bitch, I'm supposed to be on the team. Like, I'm supposed to be on the team. You feel what I'm saying? So ultimately, he didn't stay in school because of that. You dig what I'm saying? He didn't stay in school because of that. So I'm using that example because that's how it was when I came into the entrepreneur world. That's how it was when I came into the entrepreneur world, especially full time. Because I went in heavy. You feel what I'm saying? But then it was different. It's like, yo, it's one thing to be in the entrepreneur world as an employee. Like when I'm working a job and I'm still an entrepreneur, it's different because it's like, not on no like hierarchical shit or no superiority shit, but it's like I'm at a level that my employer, like my coworkers and my employers and my employees aren't, because they're working. I'm doing entrepreneurship. But then when I came into it full time and now my network is all entrepreneurs, I'm like, we in the same boat, bro. You feel what I'm saying? That big fish and that big fish in a small pond that big fish in a small pond is there when you're working and you're the entrepreneur. But then when you're on that full-time entrepreneurship, you're the small fish in a big ocean. It's a whole bunch of other fish that have been swimming, some of sharks at this point, some have grown a lot longer and a lot farther than you have. You feel what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. So you feel me? That can get into it. You feel what I'm saying? Because when I'm looking at, you know, now I'm trying to get towards people that have done what I'm doing and taking it farther. So I'm talking to people who, you know, it's one thing when you have a book out, you know, and I'm using now a lot of this right now is going to be basically off of me and my experience with the imposter syndrome, or when it actually hit me heavy. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one thing when I got a book out, but I'm at work. You feel me? I had 2 books already. I had So Frail, A Reality to Black Male Masculinity. I had Hitting It Raw, Living a Raw, Plant-Based Lifestyle for Life. But I was an employee then. You feel what I'm saying? So I didn't really put 2 and 2. So I had that money. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. Okay, marketing, advertising, shit like that. I didn't put together nothing about learning it. You feel me? Because I'm just like, yo, I'll sell them as I sell them. You feel what I'm saying? And I was selling a decent amount, but I was still like, I'll sell them as I sell them. You feel what I'm saying? But it was when I started meeting authors who were selling consistently. You feel what I'm saying? I would have moments where I would sell in burst. You feel what I'm saying? It'll be like 3-4 days, bam, bam, bam. But no, these people were selling books every single day. I was like, damn. Imposter syndrome started to kick in. When I started connecting with those, I was like, damn, can I really sell a book every single day? Like, what do I have to do to go into that? When I started to see all that it takes to actually continually sell a book every single day, I said, damn, this takes a lot. Am I built for this? That was one of the first questions that came. Am I built for this? Like, hell yeah, you got the content. Like, yo, just figure it out. Figure out how to do the shit. So those were the moments from a positive perspective. The imposter syndrome hit me, but it was a moment of, are you ready or not? All right. Look. The markets are not a difficult place to understand. All right. You just have to know what you're looking at. And there's 5 things that you need to see before you can make any market entry. First, you need a pocket so you can know which direction the market is going in. Second, you need a pullback so you can get the better price. Third, you need a battlefield so you can see when that market movement is slowing down. Fourth, you need the upper hand so you can see when the market reactivates. And last, you need a final push so you can see the exact moment when it's time to go with the direction you are already moving in. Okay? Of course, there's so much more that has to go into that, and it's not as cut and dry as that. But those are things that I teach in my Mastering the Market course. So if you would like to learn more, please visit IamJustSing.com and check out the Mastering the Market course today. Although it is directed and specialized for Forex, all of the skills, I crafted them to be transferable to any market that you're looking at. So again, visit IamJustSing.com and check out the Mastering the Market course today if you are truly looking to master the market. Oh yeah, and don't forget, while I still got you, you can use promo code QUARANTINE to save over 90% off of the enrollment of the full price of the course. That is QUARANTINE, QUARANTEEN. You know, and it never, so for example, like the first aspect, like with my books, it wasn't whether or not I was ready or not. You know, well, it was whether I was ready or not, but it wasn't a regression. I didn't go back and say, nah, I don't think I can do this. I said, hell yeah, I can do this. Let me figure it out. Bam. So I knew that I was ready for the next level. You know, this is what I'm saying. Like when imposter syndrome kicks in, it's the test to see if you're ready for the next level mentally. So I was like, yeah. So then I went in and I started to learn about how to truly market the books and everything and how to frame them to get the right people and shit like that. Because my thing was, yo, I'm just going to put it and give it to everybody. Yo, just buy the book. No. You have to cater to an audience. You have to do certain shit. And those are the things that I had to learn. You feel what I'm saying? Same when I started teaching my courses. It was like, it kicked in then. It was just like, damn, what if I'm not, like, no matter how good I was at doing what I was teaching, it was different when it was entrepreneur based, because it's like, yo, what if I can't teach them right? What if I don't? It's like, yo, I've been teaching motherfuckers for free and that was cool. It's like, why now when I'm putting a price on it, am I second guessing myself? You feel what I'm saying? And I remember when I first released my vegan course. Everybody that I kept talking to was, and this is when imposter syndrome kicked in again. Everybody, and this time I regressed to it. This is one of the times I regressed to it, but I eventually overcame that by pushing forward, because everybody that I was talking to weren't entrepreneurs. They didn't know the value of intellectual property. They didn't know these things. So they're like, they were like, yo, you might need to drop the price. Why I got to drop my price? You feel what I'm saying? Why I got to drop my price? I'm not about to drop my prices, bro. That's stupid. They were like, nah. I was like, nah, do y'all not know what it took me to acquire this information? And you like, it's like, yo, I'm charging you at the time. It was $149. At the time, my course was $149, and people was like, yo, drop it down to like $50, yo. It's too much. It's too expensive. People aren't buying it. I'm like, nah, I can't do it. I said, I already gave them the ebook for $5. Like, the fuck? I'm not going to do the course for no cheap price. And it's like, yo, I put too much money into getting this. I said, y'all got to think about it. I said, this is med school. This is, forensic biology. This is, the shit that I gained in the master. And this is the shit this is the personal shit that I've learned too. You feel what I'm saying? But the reason why I succumbed to that is because when people kept telling me, oh, like, yo, it's too expensive. It may be too expensive. I started to internalize that, maybe I'm not worth what I'm trying to ask for. You feel what I'm saying? Despite what I just broke down about how I gone through the shit, I got the good grades, I got all these things, and I knew the material. I can rattle off the shit like it's nothing, not on no memory-based shit. I just know it. You feel what I'm saying? It's not about memory because I can go in and have regular conversations. You feel what I'm saying? And it wasn't until but I had to realize that when I was talking to these people, I was talking to people not even in the realm of what I'm doing. You feel me? So of course they're going to say this is too expensive. They're customers. Then they're going to say it's too expensive. So I said, yo, I got to get over this wall. So again, this was like, am I ready for the next level? So at that point, I wasn't. The mentality had to be changed. So then that's when I started meeting and interacting with people who were selling courses. And they said, bro, you're not charging enough. You're not charging enough. And they showed me how to restructure it to where, oh, I wasn't charging enough. It's still not an expensive course. I only upped it to $299, but considering how much is in there, they're like, yo, basically, if they said, look at it like this. How many people, I said, you got to think about all that goes into your course and all of these things. What is it what went into it? It was like, how much did you have to pay to get this type of information? And I was like, damn. And they brought it back to the shit that I was trying to get the people to see. Like, bro, y'all don't know how much. They were like, yes, keep that energy. You feel me? That was one of the steps to overcoming that imposter syndrome that time. You feel what I'm saying? Without succumbing to it, it was like, yo, here's the next level. Are you ready for it? And then of course it broke the barrier for me to, continue pushing and say, okay, I could do this. I could do this. I'm built for it. I'm built for it. But like those were minor moments because the mentality had to be reaffirmed. Like, am I built for this? Because like I said, in an entrepreneur world, the imposter syndrome kicks in heavy because now you're competing. What makes you stand out? What makes you different from everybody else that's out here trying to sling this shit? You feel what I'm saying? When it really, really hit me as I was really studying it, because when I really started to improve, one of the dopest concepts that really just tapped into it on a deeper level to truly erase that imposter syndrome for that regard was when I learned that, okay, your competition right now, they're dropping their prices. They say you don't drop your price, you increase your price. I said, well, wait, how am I going to compete with them? Like if that's my competition, they dropping their prices down to this, that, and the third, what are you going to do? They're like, no, raise your price, but increase your value. Whoa, mind blown. I said, damn. They was like, nah, just state your price and then increase the value of what that person is getting out of that price. I said, damn, that makes sense because we used to do that shit when we were selling cars. When people used to want the shit, okay, look, when I first started selling cars, when they was like, look, let's negotiate. We need to take this amount out of the price. I said, no, we're not doing that shit. I remember the first time I had that moment. This person came to me and was like, we offered them what we were going to offer them for their used car. And we said, well, what the new price is. And this is literally what they said. They said, that new car is too expensive and you're not giving us enough for our used car. I don't know where it came from, but it was an autopilot. Like, I don't know if something just clicked in me this particular moment, but I said, so let me get this straight. You want us to reduce the price of a brand new car that has been sitting on our lot since it came off the truck, right? I think the car at the time only had like 15, 16 miles on it. So I was like, you want us to do that for a brand new car. But I said, you want us to give you more for a car that you've been driving in. You may have hit potholes. You may have tapped a pole or two. You may have missed the oil change, didn't get an oil change at the right time. You probably haven't had a transmission flush in it yet. This shit just started coming out. And the guy, as I'm looking at him, he's like, his face is changing. Like, damn, I said, that's not something we can do. He said, wow. I didn't look at it like that. I said, most people don't because they think car salesmen are trying to snake them. But that was one of the moments where in that imposter syndrome, I was like, nah, bro, I'm breaking that shit. You feel me? And that was my first instances of breaking it. So, and breaking it is like I said, it gets you, imposter syndrome is going to take you to that next level. It's that moment of, are you ready for this? Are you ready for what's next? If your mentality won't let you push through, you're not ready for it. But if your mentality says, yo, what I got to do to do this, and you tap into it, you'll be ready for that next level, right? So the time in which imposter syndrome beat my ass, you feel me? The time in which imposter syndrome beat my ass was recently. And when I say recently, I mean really recently, about a week and a half ago. And I was holding on to this, well, a week and a half ago at the time of this recording. I don't know when you're listening to it, but a week and a half ago. And I mean, everything is moving for me. Everything is moving for me. I'm literally at that point like, yo, I got this shit. I'm about to start scaling at this point. I got everything on automation. I don't have to worry about shit. I'm about to scale. Like, that's what I can do now. I can expand and scale because the template is set. And I get on the Amazon because I check my analytics for everything that I have. You know, I want to see what my reviews are. I want to see what people are thinking about the shit that I do. So I get on Amazon and I see my So Frail reviews. And I think, what was it? So Frail 2 had 3 5-stars. So Frail had 13 or 12 it had 12 at the time. And then some dickhead decides, you know, because I fucked up. I ain't really fuck up, but I like to congratulate myself because I'm proud of myself. So I was like, yeah, man, I'm 5 stars across the board. So somebody just randomly just put 1 star up there for me. I'm like, yo, hater, bro. You eat a dick, though. But it's not going to stop anything. So as I'm looking at So Frail, and I'm looking at the reviews and everything, because I'm like, yeah, man, I'm proud of myself for that. I scroll down. And I see, you know how, like, if you're looking at Amazon and shit, I like my books to be bought directly from me. But, I mean, hey, as long as you got the book, I'm not tripping. So I'm scrolling. And prior to that, I had somebody hit me. They were like a week before this moment happened. Like, this person hit me up and was like, yeah, somebody recommended your book to me. And he said, he said, the definition of masculinity doesn't sit right with me or blah, blah, blah. I want to actually talk to you and hold a mirror up to you. I said, yo, we can do that, bro. I said, I'm telling you, like, I can go the distance with the shit that I wrote because I'm on it. So it didn't kick in then, but that planted a seed that made the next moment that I'm about to talk about more than what it was. You feel what I'm saying? So as I'm on Amazon looking at the reviews and shit, I see motherfucking, hold on, before I tell the story. Within this week, that's when I started to see a lot of shit about imposter syndrome. I don't know if the universe was telling me, oh, you about to feel this shit. You feel me? Because I had never felt it. I never really felt it before. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling these stories now from the hindsight perspective of, okay, I know that was probably imposter syndrome, but I broke through the wall. It didn't limit me. You feel what I'm saying? It didn't slow me down. It didn't stop me. It didn't make me second guess myself in any way, shape, or form. It's just like, yo, figure out what I got to do to get better. You feel what I'm saying? So I had that conversation with the guy. He still ain't came and said he still ain't hollered at me yet about what he said he wanted to hold the mirror up to. You feel what I'm saying? Because he's like, you're still not in your book. You're not talking about how the different things that I said. Bitch, it's all there. Like, are you not comprehending what you're reading? Like, everything you're saying is there. But I got to understand that he may just be missing it. So I'm like, yo, I'm ready for the smoke. I'm ready for the conversation. Still never hit me up. But that was there. I was thinking about that. So the following week, like I said, I'm seeing all of these different things, these just randomly popping up. Imposter syndrome this, imposter syndrome that. And I don't know if it was like something that had already happened in the spiritual realm that I had already acknowledged or whatever the case may be. The foresight was there because somebody had posted in their stories. They were like, do you face imposter syndrome? I was like, yeah. You feel me? And I did, but you feel what I'm saying? Because I was beginning to start to associate with what imposter syndrome was. And it was like, I don't know if because I said yeah, that it opened up the portal for me to actually feel it the worst, but it hit. And so I'm scrolling. So now everything's caught up. So now I'm scrolling on Amazon, looking at the reviews. And as I'm scrolling down, I see the recommended books. Like, people who have bought this book also bought this. And I see So Frail 1. Because I think I might have been looking at So Frail 2, so I seen So Frail 1. Or I might have been on So Frail's 1 and then they just posted there. Whatever the case may be, I saw So Frail. And right beside it, I saw the message to the black man by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Spooked me the fuck out. I said, bro, my book is right beside the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book. Like it had never been put like that. I had never, like I've always seen, I don't think I really ever paid attention to those, to the recommended, people who bought this also bought this. I seen them, but I never really paid attention because I don't even remember any other books that could have been in that. But when I saw the message to the black man, I was like, bro, my book is beside the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book. People who are reading his book are also reading mine. I said, oh my goodness. Whew. It hit me. That's when it hit me. I was like, shit. But at first I was excited. I ain't even gonna hold you. I was excited. I was like, yeah, man, that shit. Yo, my shit's beside the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book, bro. So that means if they looking at his book, then chances are, if motherfuckers is buying that shit on Amazon, when they go down to the rate, they gonna see my shit too. I said, yeah. Then I was like, damn, they gonna see my shit too. Fuck, what if motherfuckers were just hyping me up with those 5 stars, bro? What if the people that said my shit was good were just saying it because they fuck with me? What if people read that book and then that's when it went back to the dude that said he had to hold a mirror up to it because he didn't agree with what I was saying. I was like, damn, have people been bullshitting me this whole time? Is my book really not that good? Like, are these people really just doing this because they're my friends and are they yes people? Do they not really fuck with me like that? Like, what the fuck is going on? I said, shit sent me down. It sent me into a regressive state. I stopped my ads. I stopped running my ads for Sofarel. I stopped it. I stopped putting my intention into Sofarel. My Sofarel Instagram page, I was in the works of building that. I stopped being active on that. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to focus on my podcast, bro. And I stopped books altogether because from Sofarel, I was like, yo, that might be the same shit for Hitting It Raw too. Like, what if I might not really know this shit? What if I'm not really built for the shit that I'm trying to go into? I said, you know what? I'm just gonna fuck with my podcast because that's just me talking. Like, I'm not really, I think I just put my intention into that. And so it got dark. That was the first time the imposter syndrome put me into a regressive state. It wasn't me saying, yo, let me figure this out. It wasn't me saying none of that. I didn't even bask in the excitement. I was shook. I ain't even gonna lie to you. That shit, it scared the fuck out of me because I was like, damn, now I gotta show and prove. Forget the fact that I wrote the book and I'm already showing and proving. I'm already doing these active things. I'm hearing, homies, I'm hearing people that read my book say, yo, your shit changed my life. Like, yo, this shit made me go get therapy. It made me go do certain things. Forget all of that shit. It completely went out of the window off of those 2 premises that I had internalized. That the dude said he didn't agree with what I wrote and he wanted to hold a mirror up to it. And we never had our conversation. He still hasn't popped up to have this conversation with me. So I'm still waiting on this motherfucker. You feel me? And then the shit with imposter syndrome, like the way it just happened, and then seeing that shit, I'm like, yo, people, I'm thinking like the honorable, he has honorable in his name, bro. I just go by Just Seen, bro. Like, the fuck, like, he has the honorable Elijah Muhammad in the shit. I'm like, damn, like, there's people that look up to him. There's people that I fuck with that quote him, that say shit, and it's like, yo, my shit was right. But I said, am I even supposed to be in this world right now? Am I not like suicidal type shit, but I'm like, am I supposed to be in this realm of authorship and writing books and doing all that shit anymore? I said, man, I don't think I could, man. Maybe I am just supposed to be a podcaster, bro. I said, maybe I just I don't even think I need to be an entrepreneur anymore. Like, I need to I don't know, like all of that shit, it put me in such a place that I was like, wow, I don't even think I should do this anymore. Solely because I've seen it in the same space as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I let this one person, and then, like I said, from that one person saying it, then that one I said, what if that person really wasn't trying to be funny when they put that 1 star? What if they really felt like that? Because maybe I'm not as good of an author as I think. Maybe my books aren't hitting the way I think they're hitting. You feel what I'm saying? All of the shit that motherfuckers have told me, all of the shit that I've seen, people are like, yo, bro, every time I talk to somebody, I recommend your book. You feel what I'm saying? Every time, like, forget all of that shit went completely out the window because imposter syndrome kicked in and it beat my ass this time. And this particular time it fucked me up. And I was like, you know what? I'm stopping. I don't want to, I can't, I don't even want to finish writing So Real 3 because I can't, because the first two books, they're not that good. Like literally all of this shit is playing in my head. I'm like, I'm not finishing So Real 3. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to stop it. Just leave it as So Real 2. I said, I wrote enough, maybe, you know, but it was like, I sat with it. And then I was like, you know, I'm meditating and everything like that. So then I'm hearing more about the imposter syndrome shit. So I decided, you know, I got to look into it. But then I also had to meditate because I was like, there's something I got to get out of this. You feel me? There's something I got to get out of this. And I realized that I'm at the cusp of going to the next level. That was the moment to show me what level that was showing me what level I'm going to be on. And, you know, I mean this in the utmost modesty when I say it, but I knew this from the get-go when I started my entrepreneur. I knew this when I was born, you know, that I was going to be something great. But to actually see it was different for me. You feel me? It's one thing when you imagine it, when you believe it and all that, but when you see it in reality, or what level you're going to be ascending to, you're like, whoa, I don't know if I'm built for that. Granted, am I saying I'm going to be on his level, Elijah Muhammad's level? That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say I'm going to be walking in the same light as him. I'm not trying to say any of that. But what I am saying is that when it comes to seeing my writings next to his writings, and it's like, whew, it was intimidating. It intimidated the fuck out of me because I didn't think I was supposed to be there. I was like, it was cool when I was with the little, I'm not going to call them peon books, but in comparison to that, I'm like, man, I'm down here with the little people who are still trying to, you know, get their names up and shit like that. But it's like, yo, my name is next to his. You feel what I'm saying? That's not even the first time that I seen it, but that's the first time it hit me. You feel me? I remember somebody was on, they had made a post on Instagram before. They had my book and a whole bunch of other popular books. It was like, this was before So Frail 2 even came out. They had So Frail, and then with So Frail, they had, I think, ISIS Papers. They had a few other books. So it had been in those things. And I was like, but this was just an Instagram post. This is somebody that I follow. Like, I can, all right, cool. I'm not going to say they don't matter, but it wasn't somebody that can see, like, you have a following. You feel me? So there's only a select amount of people that are really going to see your information and see that up there. So it's like, I'm not really worried about that. But then it hit me different because it's like, yo, this is a lot of eyes. This is a lot of eyes. This is a lot of people seeing me next to this person. Now, granted, of course it shuffles and it changes. But when I seen the shit, it was there. It hit me. I said, this is no longer just some Instagram shit, bro. This is stepped out of a realm. I said, like, people see, like, when they click and they scroll down and if they see that shit next to it, and as somebody who's been studying advertising and marketing, social proof is something very powerful, right? Social proof is like when people are talking about it. So yeah, social proof is like my reviews and what people are saying about it. But social proof is also where you're seen at, like what level you're in. Like, and it's like, that's a different level of social proof right there. To know that one of my books is being bought and read by the same people who are reading this book, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book. I'm like, damn, that shit made me, it put me into a space where I was like, yo, damn. I started questioning everything. I'm like, yo, am I even built for that? Like, author-wise, but then it made me question everything else. Do I really, should I be teaching? Should I be doing these things? Like, should I really have these courses running and shit? Like, I don't know. Like, I do this. Like, and my thing was like, so for example, my trading course, it was like, yo, should I stop my trading course? Like, every day I'm still trading. Every day I'm still trading, making profitable trades. And I'm like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. What do you mean? Like, should I question if I'm, like, am I questioning if I'm teaching? Like, different things like that started to fuck with me. It really started to fuck with me with it when that imposter syndrome kicks in. Because I said, man, I don't think I'm supposed to be that. I was like, I know, when you believe in yourself and you know yourself, you're supposed to be great. You know certain things. But I'm like, That's all I could think of. I said, that's what I have just aligned with. Like, I'm big on spirituality and in the grander scheme of things and, you know, the universe and stuff. So it's like, literally the work that I have put in has aligned me to be seen with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You feel me? And it's like, not as that, you know what I'm saying? I don't, you know, of course I don't practice Islam and shit like that. So it's not as somebody who's a follower of him. Not as somebody who's, you know, I ain't gonna say a subject, but who's somebody who uses him as a standard. It's like, damn, bro, I'm beside him. And I'm not, again, this is not me saying that I'm, you know, there yet, but it was the imposter syndrome test of, are you ready for what you're going to be going into? You feel me? Because then it started to play back. I had a speaking event and this guy said, man, I can't wait to see what you're going to do in the next 10 years. I was 28 at the time. So he was like, I can't wait to see what you're going to do in the next 10 years. You're like, in that conversation, he was a pastor. He was my senior in that conversation he had to be like in his 40s, close to 50 or whatnot. But you feel me? When I was talking to him, I was leading the conversation. He was getting guidance from me at the time. So for him to say that, it was like, it kind of planted a seed. So I'm like seeing all of these things, all of these different realities play at one time, all from that look in that book, all from looking at seeing my book with that and that shit. It was imposter syndrome and it beat me. It beat me this time. It beat me bad. So bad. It was just like, yo, I promise you, I canceled running my ads. All of my book ads, I canceled them. I said, because then motherfuckers is going to go to it and then they're going to read it. And then they're going to be like that another dude. The other dude's like, I want to hold a mirror to it and I want to critique it. I don't think it's this, that, and the third. And it's like, yo, in my meditations, it was like, I was able to sit and actually say, okay, what is it that you're afraid of? Like, what is it that I'm like, yo, like, if I can't be scrutinized in comparison to that, you feel me? Like, to have my content right there with the content of somebody that's like considered one of the leaders of the past generations. But then, you know, so as I'm meditating, you know, it's kind of like time broke, the barrier of time broke, and the revelation started to come to me. And one of the biggest things was, you know, you got to think about it. At some point, it's like, yo, how did they become great? Other than continual action, putting in work. So you got to think about it. They were in the position where they were building this, the point that they had to get to, as you are. But I was being shown, are you ready? Mentally, is your mind prepared for what can come from this? What level you're supposed to be going to, you know? And considering like the people that I'm looking at now, a lot of the people like my peer group, I'm looking at like, bro, we them ones. Collectively, we the ones. Like, when time goes on, 30, 40, 50 years, like our name, we're going to be those names. That was hard for me to embrace. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, damn, I'm gonna be what Jay-Z said. He said, what was it? In Mr. Carter, he said, far from being a bastard that Marcy had fathered. So my name is being mentioned with the Biggies and the Pacs and the Marleys and the Marcuses, Garveys, Harvey, but whatever the case may be. But he's like, yo, I'm in running to be to be spoken with the greats. And I'm looking at my peer group now, and it's just like, looking at us doing the things we're doing, you know, financial freedom, different things like that, entrepreneurship, self-healing, spirituality, the connect, like, we the ones. And that was showing me that you're in that class. You're in that bracket. You feel what I'm saying? Don't be afraid of that shit. Do not be afraid of that shit. I can't be afraid of that shit. You feel what I'm saying? But I was. Because instantly I thought, damn, I can't. Like, my shit is side by side with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book. That's some scary shit. Well, it was some scary shit. I made peace with it after my meditations and everything because things started to come to me. The clarity started to come to me when my mind calmed down. You feel what I'm saying? I was no longer scared of it anymore because I was like, yo, it's changing of the guards. These are batons. These are things that are supposed to happen. You feel me? You're not, they were like, and it's like as I'm, connecting with my guides, connecting with the source and all of the things, higher self, however we're choosing to look at it through my meditation, it's like, yo, you didn't put, like you put in this work for this reason and now you see it and now you're afraid of it. You feel me? That's why I'm understanding that this is what imposter syndrome is. Imposter syndrome is a test. It's a test to see if your mentality is ready for the next level or not. Mine wasn't. I can tell 100% my shit was not ready for that next level. No matter how much I prepare for the current level I'm on, my mentality was not ready for the next level of what could really come out of this shit. And I had been hearing these things and these premonitions, people have been, I've had people say, yo, you're going to be a problem. Like, you feel me? But in the good way, of course, like, yo, you're going to be a problem. You're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Like, shit, I've been hearing that shit. And then it's like, bam, the universe says, now I'm going to put my stamp on it. It's one thing when you hear the stamp from people. You feel me? Because, are you really hyping me up? Or are you just saying that shit? But no, the universe don't make it. It's when the universe speaks, you better listen. You feel me? Now, whether you call it the universe, the source, Allah, God, Jehovah, Yeshua, Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, you feel me? I always run through the gamut of, what it is that we acknowledge. But when it's revealed to you, that's when you know the stamp is on. That's when you know you really got the stamp of approval. And shit is about to do what you're supposed to do. And I had always desired that. I had always pushed to that and worked to that. But I had never really prepared for what I'm supposed to do when I see the moment when it's about to happen. You feel me? And I've been telling homies all this year, especially the past month, I'm like, yo, a major shift is about to happen. I don't know what. You feel me? I don't know what. I can't explain it, but I feel like a major shift is going to happen. And for me, that was the shift. It was, are you ready? And that's what I'm learning the template is. That's what I'm learning what imposter syndrome is, because it in my meditation of this moment, it sent me back to all of the previous moments when I didn't succumb to it. When I beat it and I walked through it and I was like, oh, it was moments of, are you ready yet? Are you ready for this level? Can you sustain yourself? Can you do this? And this was the first time I was like, bro, that's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, bro. Y'all really put my book beside him. Y'all couldn't give me somebody that, you feel me, it's not quite there yet. You feel me? It's like maybe a step up, one step up for me. I'm like, yo, this is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it was like, this is the utmost respect towards this man. Notice I keep calling him the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I have utmost respect for him. But this is the universe telling me, and, as I'm, trying to rationalize, yo, this is the Honorable universe, like, so you're you too. Like, we put you here to walk in this light. Like, you're here to do the same thing in your generation and for your epoch of people, for your era. You're here too. Look at look at the class you're in. Look at the names of the people that, they're doing the same shit. It's time for you to walk into that shit too. But are you ready? You feel me? Are you ready? And I was like, nah. In that moment, I wasn't. I completely shut down. I said, you know what? I'm just going to focus on my podcast because people only got to hear me. They ain't got to see me. They ain't got to really make that connection with me. It's like, no, you can't hide anymore. Like, you've done everything you could behind the scenes. That's it. It's the joking joke. It's a little jokey joke I had with my homie. I'm like, I kept saying this shit I've been saying this shit all year. But I've been saying, I'm like, yo, it's time for seen to be seen. Like, it's time for seen to be seen. And, it's like, all right, let's see if you're going to put your money where your mouth is. Let's see if you're really about that shit. And then when I seen me, I was like, bro, I don't want to be seen no more, bro. I don't want to be seen no more, bro. I was like, yo, let me relax. Let me relax. You know what I mean? But I can't. I couldn't, And that was the moment that it kind of broke the barrier for me with imposter syndrome. And like I said, it was no coincidence that up until that time before it hit me, it was like I kept seeing things on imposter syndrome. Just randomly, they would just pop up. It was more so, something's about to shift in you right now, but you can't be afraid of it. It's like your imposter syndrome was like being afraid to go to that next level. You feel what I'm saying? Being afraid to go to that next level because it's about to happen on a grander scale. No more playing. No more playing. No more being in this space that I was in. It's really, really time to elevate, because in that moment, it gave me a glimpse of what I'm supposed to be elevating to, what caliber of person I'm supposed to be, what caliber of the mark that I'm going to leave in this world. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to know that and have it revealed in that moment. I wasn't ready for that shit. And I think that's what the imposter syndrome is. And that's how the imposter syndrome fucks us up and it breaks us down, because we're not ready for that yet. And we don't know that we're not ready for it. But that's why the imposter syndrome shows up. It's the test. It says, is your mentality ready for that next level? When it creeps in and we succumb to it, we're not ready yet. So now we have to go back in the archives and get our mental right. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to prepare more. You have to do more than work. Like, there's no more work I can do at the current level I'm at. Like, literally. Like, not on any funny shit. Like, everything I wanted to do that I decided to do, I've done. I don't have anything else that I have to put into work except go to the next level. Go to the next level. And I'm like, wow, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. But that imposter syndrome, it showed me. Get your mind right. Because you need to. You feel what I'm saying? Talking to, my homies and shit, and like seeing how they speak about my work. And this was kind of like the icing on the cake, because after I came to terms with it and realized that I got my mind right after the meditation and having everything revealed and having this to see all that went into this, having to see that all that went into this message that I had to get. After that, I was rewarded by seeing somebody literally reading my book on social media. You know what I'm saying? My bro, my homie, you feel me? He was reading my book on social media, and it was like following a certain situation that just happened about not liking black women. He was reading a excerpt out of my book on his stories, and that was the bam. Do you see? This is only the beginning. This is only the tip of the iceberg, but this is where it can go. So that imposter syndrome, when your mentality is right, it's gonna elevate you. You're gonna transform and change when you got your shit right. You got your shit right. So then after that, I was able to put my ads back on and shit and get my confidence back up and get my shit right, because the perspective changed from it, because it went from, damn, bro, they got my book beside the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to, damn, bro, my shit is beside the Honorable Elijah Muhammad book, bro. Bruh. That means I'm doing something. That means I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That means I'm fulfilling my purpose and my mission. You feel what I'm saying? So when it comes to that imposter syndrome, if you facing it, if you dealing with it, if you feel like you battling it right now, it's because it's either asking you, it's a test. Is your mind ready for that next level? So you have to ask yourself, are you really ready for that next level? And don't forget to take a moment to go get your exclusive merchandise from Just Scenes Merch. At Just Scenes, each piece is specifically crafted with positive imagery and symbolism. From the titles and designs to the descriptions, each style gives you something to feel great about. With everything from hoodies and tees to coffee mugs and tote bags, we have something for the entire family. So be sure to get yours today. Find us on Instagram at Just Scenes Merch and get your merchandise right now. All right, so I'm gonna try to start. I'm gonna wrap it up and start and get there. But yeah, I know a lot of people that are currently dealing with imposter syndrome. I think I needed to have this moment and this experience within myself, for one, to understand imposter syndrome, but for two, to know that I think imposter syndrome, I don't think it's gonna ever hit me this hard again, because now I'm prepared for anything that's gonna come from it. When I see it, I know how to identify, oh, this is the test. Is my mind ready for that next level? is my mind ready for my next level? So when you start facing that in imposter syndrome, just ask yourself, is my mind ready for that next level? You feel what I'm saying? Am I mentally prepared? Is my soul at peace to be able to take what's going to come with this? You feel what I'm saying? I ain't going to hold you. Sometimes it gets scary because I'm like, all of these people are dead. They transitioned on. You feel me? You know, some of our ancestors, you know, the elders and shit, they were fortunate enough to be able to transition on their own. Some of them were murdered. You feel me? And I walk a fine line between both of those. I walk a fine line between living a life of those who were murdered and those who have transitioned on. That gets scary because I don't want to be murdered too early. I do want to reach transition phase. You feel what I'm saying? But when I look at those, it's an even split. You feel me? When I look at Pop, you feel me? When I look at Dr. Sebi, when I look at Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, when I look at Dr. Africa, you feel me? Malcolm X, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, the list goes on. It's a split. Some of them were just able to, you know, continue on their mission and transition on. Some of them were murdered. That is a burden that I have to overcome. That is something that is a part of what makes that imposter syndrome stick for me sometimes. Because it's like, man, am I gonna get to transition or will I be killed? You feel me? But I've learned that in the same regard, you know, like another example, like Huey Newton was killed, Bobby Seale got to live to old age. You feel me? And they were literally, they were the founders of, you know, the Black Panthers, and like one went one way, the other went the other way, and they're both, you know, our ancestors. And it was about the cause of certain things. I mean, the movement and the progression of our people, which is the same shit that I'm on. You feel me? So seeing that, it kind of put that into perspective. So you got to be able to go into your mentality. You feel me? When you face that imposter syndrome, you got to be able to deal with the mentality of it and not fear what's going to come with it. You know, I got to make peace with that shit. You know, it's liable to happen. It's just, I have to make sure I have everything out. You feel me? I have to make sure everything out. I've left things for healing. I've left things for the three components of the world of what is running the world right now, which is health, wealth, and relationships. I left things for that. I have things for that. You feel what I'm saying? So at this point, I just have to reaffirm and know that I can't leave until my mission is done. And I'm not going to be taken out until my mission is done. You know, I hope that it's, you know, going to be that. But like, that's one of the things that plague me regarding my imposter syndrome. You know, when it hits me, it's like automatically I start to assume that, damn, I don't want to go down that route. You know, I don't want to go down that route because, you know, but I learned to just, you know, to face it and everything. But this was to give some insight behind it, because I've, you know, the person that I, you know, they asked, did I have imposter syndrome? No, they asked who has imposter syndrome in the stories, and I responded, like, yeah, I would never think you have it. I mean, I get through it, but you feel what I'm saying? And it just so happened to everything, because this was the one time I wasn't able to push through it like that. This shit, it made me stop. This shit made me stop and rethink life. I said, I don't know if I want to continue to do this shit. Like, yo, that's like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, because it's like, you start to wonder, like, these are big shoes to fill. These things, like, no, you got your own shoes. You feel me? You're where you're supposed to be for a reason. You're in your space for a reason. You're in that position that you're in for a reason to do what you're supposed to fucking do. You feel me? Don't fear it. Don't be afraid of it. When that imposter syndrome kicks in, don't ignore it either. Don't try to deny it or fight it. Like, feel it, sit with it, and see where your mental state is. See where your mentality is, because all imposter syndrome is a test to see if you're prepared for the next level. You feel what I'm saying? A test to see if you're prepared for the next level. You know, when it was time for me, when I was being shown that I was ready for the next level, let's say to enter into, you know, full-time entrepreneurship, I was ready before I was accepting myself to be ready. Didn't even know it. And I didn't know that I was ready, but they put the pressure on me to say, okay, look, start getting ready. Start getting your mind ready, because luckily I was able to retire before 28, but they kind of gave me a quote unquote a scare, that they was going to let me go because my team had did something crazy, but they knew who they were fucking with. They couldn't just let me go because it would have been a wrongful termination, because I had nothing written, nothing on the record, nothing like that. It was just, they was like, yo, if we let them go, it's going to be a wrongful termination. We're going to have a lawsuit. They knew how I was going to work. You feel me? So it was that sign. They were like, they moved me to another location, kept my pay the same. But at that moment I said, okay, well, the mentality is no longer, I'm no longer an employee. I'm no longer an employee. I'm going to use this time to put the icing on the cake, and I'm done. And I think I only stayed in that position for like 3 more months. Now it was 3 more months because I turned my 2 weeks notice in 2 weeks before my birthday, my 28th birthday. So, that sometimes you can already be ready. And now it's like, okay, bro, we're showing you that you're ready. Go ahead and knock it out. You feel me? But then you're going to have those moments where you're getting shown the test. Is your mental space straight? Is your soul right? Forget the physical realm. Forget all of the work that you put in. Is your mental and your spiritual space right enough to be ready for what you're about to go into? Because you're going to see it. You feel what I'm saying? My moment that stopped me was, like I said, I seen my book next to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book. I said, I couldn't take it. My spirit wasn't ready for that. My mind wasn't ready to see some shit like that. Physically, I was, I had prepared everything. I have everything in motion, but then it's like that mental, it made me shut down. I said, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this anymore. Let me just stick to my podcast and do my merch. I'm not going to fuck these books. I'm not doing this shit anymore. You feel me? But it was fuel. Because once I overcome it, it showed me how important I really am, how important my shit really is, and what I really have to do. And I need to take it a lot more serious and get my mind straight to expand, because they weren't put neck and neck like that for no reason. That was universal confirmation for me. You feel what I'm saying? So there's going to be a universal confirmation for you too. There is a universal confirmation for you, and that's what imposter syndrome is. It is that moment to say, I am ready for this. I can do this, right? But your mental state has to be straight, because if not, either you're going to regress or you're going to go through. But it's a plateau moment that's going to stop you and say, are you ready? It's here. The next phase is here. What you're looking for, what you're going to is right here. It's in your face. You feel me? Pun intended. For me, it was like, it's in your face. You're looking at it. But is your mind ready for it? Is your soul ready for it? That's what you have to deal with. And that's what imposter syndrome brings to you. That's what you have to overcome when it comes to imposter syndrome. Know that it's not something that's supposed to debilitate and cripple you. It's not something that's supposed to break you down and make you stop doing what you're doing. It's not. It's a test to see if your mind is ready for the next level. And the good part about it, the beautiful part about it, is that it's not a yes or no type of situation. It's either a yes, my mind is ready for it, or not yet, my mind is going to get ready for it. There's no. You're not going backwards. Imposter syndrome doesn't send you back. It's not supposed to send you backwards, because now you're at that point where, you feel me? I can't go back. So now I go back to the metaphor of the big fish in the small pond. After the big fish leaves the small pond and goes to the ocean, he can't go back. You dig what I'm saying? He cannot go back, because now he's adapted and adapted to the ocean. He can't go back to the pond anymore. He's really too big. Not only just physically, but he's too big in every aspect. So you have to keep moving. So that is a test to show you, okay, well, are you ready? No. Okay, get ready. There's no, my mind, I'm not prepared for it mentally. I'm not prepared for it. Well, you better get prepared. There is no regression. There is no you unprepared. You put in all of this work to stop. Fuck no. Fuck no. Imposter syndrome is your checkpoint. You feel me? Y'all play video games. If you play video games, you reach a certain point where, let's say if you die in this game. This is just for conversation's sake. I'm not wishing death on nobody, saying anybody's going to die. But when you reach a certain checkpoint, I'll use this as an example because it's an animated game. Crash Bandicoot, right? There's boxes with C's on them midway through each level. When you hit that box, No matter how much farther you go, if you die, you respawn from that checkpoint. You don't respawn back from where you began at. That right there is what the imposter syndrome is like. You feel me? You're either gonna stop here, because you can't go back. You're either gonna stop here or you're gonna get your shit together so you can go forward. You feel me? And the universe is showing you, Allah, God, Jehovah, Yeshua, whatever deity, is showing you, get your shit together. If it's not together, get it together. We just want to make sure you know that you need your shit together right now. So we're going to show you, look, are you ready for your shit to come into fruition how you want it to come into fruition? See the yay or nay. If it's nay, get it together. If it's yay, all right, go forth and do your next step. You feel me? Because at this point, you're at a checkpoint now. You're at a checkpoint. It's just acknowledging that you're really at a checkpoint. You reach that point. That's when the imposter syndrome kicks in, because you're supposed to be going there. You're supposed to be there. You're supposed to be preparing yourself for that next phase. You just have to get your mind and your soul right. You dig what I'm saying? And when you get your mind and your soul right, everything else will flow properly. And it's almost like it's going to like accelerate real quick. You'll know exactly what you need to do, how you need to do it, in what capacity you need to do it to start flowing. You feel what I'm saying? I'm seeing that now for myself. I'm seeing that now within myself, that it's like, all right, here comes the next level. Here comes the motherfucking next level. You feel me? And I'm ready for it. Now, I had time to sit and get my mental space ready to say, you know what? I was supposed to be. My shit was supposed to be right there. I was supposed to see those two books together for that very reason. You feel me? Took me some time to get my shit together, but I got my shit together with it. So if you're facing imposter syndrome, if you feel like it's coming towards you, understand that this is a checkpoint. Understand this is a checkpoint to make sure your mentality and your spirituality is right for that next level. Because the physicality is already aligned. The physical aspect is already aligned. That's why you're able to see it. And you're hitting that imposter syndrome and you're being affected by it because you have to get your mind and your spirit right. If your mind and your spirit, you have reached imposter syndrome so many different times as checkpoints, but your mind and your spirit was right. So you probably overlooked them and just kept pushing. You feel what I'm saying? But when it hits you and you're able to acknowledge it, yo, this shit is consuming me. I don't feel like I should do this. Get your mind right. Get your spirit right, because you are supposed to be doing that. You just have to make sure that all T's are crossed and all I's are dotted, because there's going to be a lot of requirements for that next level. You feel me? Understanding marketing, understanding advertising, understanding, how to create web pages, how to do it. Like all of these things were things I had to do in the background to make sure that I was ready for this next phase, because this next phase is going to require me to have everything on autopilot as I have it now, which is something that I had to do. You feel me? And to have it revealed and said, okay, here it is. Here's the time. Now just get your mind right. Now get your spirit right, because this is coming. You feel me? Same situation with you. If you're feeling imposter syndrome right now, if imposter syndrome is something that you're dealing with, it's something that you're facing, understand it's nothing but a checkpoint. It's nothing but a checkpoint. It's not a hindrance. It's just a design to say, hey, is your mind right? Is your soul right? If not, get it right. There is no no. There is no no for you. You feel me? If it's not, get it right. Make it yes for you. You feel what I'm saying? So I just wanted to share that. That's why this is an impromptu. It kind of just happened. You feel me? It just happened, and I had to get it out. I had to get it out of me. I had to get it out of my system. And I see people that kept dealing with it, so I also wanted to discuss it for them too. Not like I'm speaking for them, but you can relate. You can relate. Like, you feel what I'm saying? When you start, you'll know when it's time. Because you start aligning with people that are more towards that level that you're going to. We're here. We're in that space. We're in that cusp, yo. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of that shit, yo. Just take your time. Deal with your imposter syndrome. Meditate, learn, connect, and see what missing pieces you need. Get your mind and your spirit right. I'm going to leave it there. As always, be sure to follow me on Instagram at _just_seen_. Visit my website at iamjustseen.com to get all things that are just seen, all of my books, all of my courses, all of my merchandise. Listen to, of course, the podcast as well. And book a session if you would like to, chatting with Seen. As always, kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And start early, breaking that mentality of, if they're in a school system or whatever, like, we keep our babies from being exposed to imposter syndrome so early. And if you have babies, see if they are facing and dealing with imposter syndrome. You feel what I'm saying? Don't just assume that they can or everything like that, or try to give them wishful thinking and hope. Make sure they're not dealing with imposter syndrome, so they're not driving themselves insane because they're at a point where they have to get their mind and their spirit right, but they can't yet. You feel what I'm saying? Check on them. Check on that and that imposter syndrome in them too. See if they're facing it even at a young age, because we do. You know, that gives them the ability to have a healthier inner child when they get older. So that doesn't have to overcome so many of these things. You feel me? So give that same energy to your babies. You know. So as I said, with that said, kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And I see you all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.